Hey guys, and welcome back. We're doing a take two of this. I've actually already gone through the patch notes. You'll see for the past couple of days. My bots has not been posting. There was some sort of issue with DCMA with NCS, which is our music sponsor, by the way. They sponsor in quotation. They provide streamers with free music or royalty-free music as long as we reference them. So yeah, you can go and check that out. But what I've realized is for the past couple of days, we cleaned up our scenes a little bit and I disabled the microphone. So it was picking up, but it was not providing an output. We just fixed that. So we are going to quickly run through the patch notes again. And yeah, we're going to take it from there. So apologies about that. So I've been so quiet on stream. I'm not usually this quiet. I actually quite talk a bit. But yeah, just so that everybody knows what is going on, we're going to do a quick recap of the current patch notes and we'll be taking it from there. Alrighty, so first thing first, it was 3 hours ago, but basically 4 hours ago, PoE just dropped this, that they have really enjoyed the launch. It's been really successful and it's been great. But they have seen that there's a couple of issues that need to be addressed. I did explain that there's a couple of issues. We've been playing the Witch, as you guys know. We've been trying the new minion ascendancies. Well, sort of, because there's no minion ascendancy or necromancer ascendancy, but we do have the Fire Witch that we're using there. And we've been having some issues where we are several levels above the area that we are in, so leveling progress is really, really slow, but we're struggling with minion survivability as well as DPS. Because it's a kind of a love-hate relationship. You need both of them at an equal state, but damage is a bit more important in certain instances, and in boss fights, it's much better just to have the tankiness because they obviously draw the aggro. But with the updated AI, which was a major issue, a lot of people have been struggling because the AI will ignore taunts or minions and rather go directly for the player. And of course, with this being said, it's very difficult when your whole skin, or the whole thing about the Witch is that you have your minions that are running around and doing everything for you, and you're just out here kicking ass and trying to stay alive. And if the boss directly attacks you and this giant AoE wipes out your minions with a single slash, and you gotta wait 7 seconds until the next major damage or AoE that it does, you're essentially in a perpetual loop where you're just dodging and slowly running out of flash charges, trying to survive. So with that being said, let's have a look here. I do know there's a couple of things players have been bitching about. I play with a lot of players, old hardcore veterans from PoE. Some of them are casual, some of them are a bit more hardcore gamers, and some of them are just somewhere in between casual and hardcore gamers. And because of this, a lot of people, they've been playing the game, and Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 is two completely separate instances, okay? We are aware of this. They are treated completely differently, and they work completely differently. But with that being said, the major issue that people are having is that the difficulty for Path of Exile 2, where it's not like Path of Exile 1, we have giant swarms of minions running at you, and you're just killing hordes and hordes of minions. It's more towards a kind of a combat system where you don't want to do swarms, you want to do a 1v1. It's a bit more of a slower gameplay compared to Path of Exile 1, where people are just running through and blasting maps, right? So this is a different thing, but the problem is that the required skill that you need, as well as the low DPS and survivability, as a lot of people have noticed, that there's no life increase on the tree. So you've got armor, evasion, strength stacking, and energy shield, which they've changed, by the way. Certain things like damage over time, as well as poison, bypass, energy shield. But all other damage types does double the amount of damage to energy shield, right? So just keep that in mind. And where the issue comes in is essentially that there's very little ways and manners for you to scale your EHP or your effective hit pool. And that's been a bit of a issue compared with the low DPS, compared to the mobs that you need to kill. It's much slower gameplay. But with that being said, so you're putting in all these hours, it takes you 5 minutes to kill a unique monster, especially with low level, low gear, and what ends up happening is you spend 5 to 10 minutes killing it, and what you're getting for is nothing. So a lot of people in global chat has been spamming this repeatedly, that they're having issues with this as well as the requirements. So you have very, very specific needs that needs to be fulfilled by your gears. There's no crafting bench. There's no guaranteed ways of doing craft that we know of at the current moment, and gathering currency is rather slow. With that being said, it's almost impossible to craft these specific items given the amount of currency that you're getting compared to the time you're investing. So unless you're going to be playing for a full 6 months, you're essentially never going to be able to craft these things at your own. You have to pray for the RNG that ends up giving you what you need, which is obviously highly unlikely, especially in situations like with minions where you need plus to level up all minion skill gems. And additionally, on top of that, you need large numbers of life as well as armor and energy shield, so that you can survive. This is the problem. So a lot of the modifiers are there. And another thing, just maybe FYI, I don't know, I just found out while watching the Gazi stream, is that belts has multiple sockets for your charms, as we know. But unlike your support skill gems, where the further down you go, the more likely you are to get level 2, level 3 skill gems or support skill gems. The belts have a specific modifier which allows you to have an additional charm. Charms are really nice. They do provide you with those oh shit moments to help you take reduced damage as well as overall survivability. It kind of works like a flask, like a utility flask for fire, lightning, and cold resistances. Where if you take a certain hit where you get ignited or frozen, this charm will go off, and it's like a flask. It's got charges that it uses. However, again, this rolls back to you need to basically craft. You need to be in a situation where you can craft your gear. And with the way maps and things progress, or not maps, rather the different areas progress, I can see the difference, especially in the beginning game. If you start doing the first area, go over to the wood area where you find the witch and you fight her for the first time, the little one that's hidden away in the hut. Even as the mercenary, your DPS is insane. You got really good DPS as well as survivability. But with that being said, you are still struggling to death, literally, at certain cases, or points in time, that you just don't have the DPS and the gear for it to survive it. So you need to go out there and craft your own things, or pray that you get it dropped. Which is not a reasonable way of doing it. Yes, you can rely on drops, for instance. Okay, you need good RNG, so you need to kill a couple of mobs so you can get a item that you can craft on, and then you need to roll the explicit modifiers that you need, which can also be a daunting task on its own. So as far as I know, there's no way to reroll or to clear out or start again. Might be just that we have not progressed far enough because we stopped at level 34. Our experience with the witch has told us at the end of the day it's not worthwhile, the investment. So there's a couple of things that they posted here. There's another post where they are updating Summon Raging Spirits, so it will spawn only 5 at all levels, right? So it's a bit of a buff in the early game and a bit of a nerf at the end game. But at the end of the day, that does make sense. And where the issue comes in, especially for people like me, who plays on a potato PC, the issue that we're running into is that with all those visual screen effects going on, as well as the sacrifice, because Path of Exile at the end of the day is a risk versus reward game in all instances. For instance, running away from an enemy, you've got a certain movement speed, but if you turn around and you start shooting at them, you lose movement speed for that 0.5, 0.75 seconds, which means that this gives the opportunity for mobs to run up and murder you. Now, speaking of, we're going to go through a couple of things that I've noticed. I've spoken with a couple of people who started since launch, been playing with them, they've been leveling. Some of them are already in maps, some of them are already on the second and third character. And we're going to talk about some of the issues, especially on global chat, that people have been talking about. The number one thing people are very upset about at the moment is risk versus reward. They are putting in all this time, they're fighting a unique monster which in certain instances can have a lot of like damning modifiers on it. So it takes reduced damage, it's got super resistances, and it's got a larger health pool. Plus, on top of that, it does a superb amount of damage, which means you just went from getting 2-shot to it by literally it looks in your direction, you've just lost all your health. And in these instances, a long fight, a long boss fight, you eventually get it murdered, because that's the more concerning. And that's the funny thing about Path of Exile. You have to be more concerned about the uniques than what you are about the boss. the rare mobs. And then you spend all this time trying to kill this thing, trying to get some good loot so that you can progress your character, because your character are physically dependent on the creation of your gear, and it ends up giving you nothing. So we've had the unfortunate event where a lot of people, especially in imposter areas, they've been playing, they've been pushed all the way through the map, telling themselves, looks, it's going to get better. This is just the campaign loot, so it's limited, it's not that good. And they get into maps and they run into an immediate issue that they can't sustain it. Again, I'll be referencing Gazi here. This morning in his stream over there, and one of the viewers that was there was actually asked him, hey, listen here guys, how do you keep on sustaining your maps? And he admitted that there's no way to sustain it. The only way you can do it is by actively choosing points in the tree. Seems like he's doing okay, but the way he described it, it sounded like it's just and in certain instances you're not really sustaining it, you're just slowing it down so that you can generate enough gold to buy these maps or stone fragments or realm fragments, I believe is what they're called, so that you can actually sustain and continue to do mapping. There was another thing that I think that mentioned about the summon raging spirits. I'm a little bit disappointed in this because I do agree with the sentiment here that they're using low-level skills to grant you copious amounts of damage. I mean, the whole idea about Path of Exile, they wanted to move away from these type of cheese builds or blaster builds as they're known. A lot of people did the One Divine Challenge, for instance. And that was basically done by using these meta builds. But with that said, right now, my personal opinion is that, for instance, on the Witch, it's not a very good character unless you're going to be going like elementals or things like that. And even in those instances, you are going to be struggling regarding your DPS output. But it's not as bad as with minions. The minions is the main cause here, or the main issue here. The amount of investment that is required to make it worthwhile. You are struggling with clearing basic campaign maps to the point where you have to go and die multiple times until you learn the map, and you have to use glitches like corridors where the minions run in together. We have to pull the mobs so they can get stuck on top of each other and stuck in a doorway so that you can attack them from afar, because they one-shot your front line so that your back line can actually do a decent amount of damage, because your front line basically does no damage. And if your front line does do damage, you end up with a situation where that as soon as one of their special abilities hits or something like that, or there's an AoE that goes off, they instantly get one shot, which leaves you in a very, very awkward position where you're running around for 6-7 seconds waiting for your minions to respawn. You've got all these points invested in just their survivability. They can't survive and they can't have the DPS output compared to something like the mercenary. You have to be several levels above it, and that's the current issue that we're having. This could all change very well with the new ascendancies that's going to be released, whenever that may be. We do not have an exact date, but currently there's no real ascendancy for the necromancer. The only ascendancy that there are is for the witch and the blood demon. I think it's those two. And currently, if you're going for the fire witch or the blood witch, one of the two, but the fire witch seems to be the choice favorite for when it comes to minion builds, especially what Gazi has tasted and experienced. It's really, really good for him. But with that being said, it's not really a true necromancer there, and it seems like the investment on the gear is rather insane to get it to a point where you're survivable, because you're very, very squishy, or your minions are very squishy, or you make use of spamming a lot of minions, temporary minions, just to get them, like the summon raging spirits. You lose the zombies completely because they're no longer permanent, and does just put you in an awkward situation. You can't use auras to bolster their damage output as well as their survivability, because this reserve spirit, the exact same thing that you need to get your permanent minions. And for people that are in a situation like me, where I unfortunately have a potato PC, meaning that as soon as we have explosions or a lot of things going on screen, I end up in a situation where the game would stagnate, and up to 2-3 seconds it will literally freeze, and then sometimes I'm forced to completely restart my PC by forcefully shutting it down, or it will get back, but at that stage you already died and you need to fight through the entire map again using all of these cheese methods to get through. And just to give you some clarification here, if I was, for instance, in level 10 area, I was almost level 17, and my skill gems at that stage were all of them were level 8, level 9. That's the severity of the difference. I was completely over leveled. So far that basically when I got into Act 2, it took me 3 hours to get through the entire Act 2 on my own, as well as the first Ascendancy. I didn't do the second one because I tried to finish up Act 3 and we almost did. But it ended up in a situation where I was forced to abandon that halfway through for the simple reason that the amount of effort I have to put in compared to what I'm getting out, it's not worth it. Never mind the drops, just the satisfaction of playing with the character that you're playing. And this seems to be the general consensus. Now, back to what the community was complaining about. And I do know there's a lot of people out there that's saying, hey, listen here, don't be a hater, don't be a whiny. Yes, that is true. Don't be reasonable, be respectful when raising your concerns. But with that being said, don't call them whiny because there's a certain amount of issues. However, GCG did not take that approach. So thank you, Jonathan. We greatly appreciate the fact that you came out and said, hey, we see your complaints, we see your issues, we've looked into it, and yes, this is reasonable. We are updating it and fixing it. So, without any further ado, let's quickly jump into the patch notes. We'll be reading here. Let's just go one back. We'll be reading through this from the top. I'm going through things one by one, and then we'll look at the final change list that is listed down here. This will be the second time that I'm going through this, but I will be going through it, reading it aloud, and obviously just adding in comments where I deem it necessary. Okay, so the first thing first. Hi everyone. The launch weekend has been a blast. We have really enjoyed seeing all of you get your hands on the game and finally try out the project we have been working on for so long. Yes, 5 years in the making, and I can tell you that all of my friends and people that are coming from the original OG Path of Exile 1 community have been really stoked and excited for this. They are glad to be here, and of course you're glad because just think of the amount of $30 packs that was sold. I mean, we were sitting with queue issues, logging in on day one. They knew about it. They went, I think there's over 1 million pre-purchases for the early access. So it was insane. They had to shut down queues multiple times. They had to add additional databases. It was insane. It was insane. I think this was largely one of the best received early access or open beta game releases that we've seen for a very long time, if not ever. I would just go as far to say as of thus far that we've seen. So that's great. And of course with them and their $30, but I mean, well worth it. But now that the launch weekend is over, it's time for us to look at the feedback and make some changes. There are a lot more things coming. This is opposed to some things that we felt needed to be more urgently addressed, okay? Some of these changes have already been deployed with a realm restart. Others will be deployed in the upcoming patch. Okay, they're moving fast. This is good. This is really good. Okay, dodge rolls. Oh, this actually reminds me. So one of the things that I didn't say is that the current issue with minions, but it's not just with minions, it's a total issue. The mobs would swarm you, especially in a game like Path of Exile 2. It's been specifically said by Jonathan as well on multiple occasions. You do not want to go for mobbing. You don't want to drag a bunch of mobs and then slowly murder them down. The game has not been designed that way. It's actually been designed to receive, 1-1-1 mobs and killing them that way around. And what would happen is you'd unintentionally try to cut them, and then they would simply either spawn in some of their own minions and they would surround you, and you'd get stuck on top of them and be pushed in a situation where you can't dodge out, and now you're stuck up against the wall and there's nothing you can do. So in cases like that, that's where you have to go into a map, die multiple times until you figure out the layout of the map and how to manipulate that to your advantage, which is obviously not fair, because then you need to die. So hardcore players are probably very sad about that, as I'm sure it's happened more than once to them. And the problem is, if you alter F4, you don't log out and you can start over again. You continue from the exact same space that you're at, which means lost is lost and you can't get it back. Anyways, dodge rolls. A lot of players have expressed frustration about being trapped in by monsters. You see what I'm saying? While it is intended that monsters are able to trap and kill you, we felt that the frequency of this was a little too high. We will be deploying the following changes to the upcoming patch. Player size now set to 0 units, while dodge rolling instead of 1 unit. Okay, so it went from 1 unit to 0 units. Some smaller monsters can now be pushed out of the can be pushed while dodge rolling. This includes monsters such as Dawn Beetles and Keth. This has actually been a very, very big issue with that map because I've died there multiple times. Those beetles do not spawn until you've gone past their spawning point and you meet a boss up front, and then they swarm you from the back. So if you're playing a minion bolt, for instance, where your DPS is located at the back and you got your front line there with your temporary minions that you're just consistently spamming, and you're trying to set up some sort of a barrier and using your bone spikes just to block them off, what happens is you get swarmed from the back, and then obviously they just get murdered. Plus the fact is that bone barrier or bone spikes no longer actually impales all of them. There's a percentage chance, which means that even then you can get overrun and there's nothing you can do about it. As well as with the taunting, it doesn't really work, so you just end up in a situation where you get murdered. Right, so this is a really, really good change. I think this is well worth it. Getting trapped. That's up that you will still be trapped. A player size of 0 can still not phase through monsters, but it can get through even the smallest of gap between them, which is something that I've noticed. Like sometimes you can see there's the smallest, cake slice in between them, but you can't get through. There's something there where it's like almost you are stuck on top of a monster and you're just sitting there and waiting for the inevitable. So I think this is a really, really good change. Okay. Checkpoint changes. A lot of players have been reporting that it can be tedious to need to retread areas of the map in order to get back to objectives that they've already found. Yes. Very annoying. So annoying. So this is amazing. We will be deploying the following change in an upcoming patch. Clicking on the checkpoints will allow you to teleport to other checkpoints in area that are explored on your minimap. Checkpoints have been added and all entrances and zones allow for teleportation. A checkpoint list has been added to the midpoint of the Dreadnought area. Okay, so this is amazing. So two things is, A, they're not just going out and saying, okay, we plop down a couple of checkpoints, so, this will be good enough. They are actually looking at the data and they are looking at the feedback like, hey, it would be better if you can put a checkpoint here instead of here, because here doesn't make a lot of sense. The natural way you're going to be walking through it is this way, as the way that this is how the map is generated. So I think this is really, really great. And obviously they'll be adding more as they continue to gather some feedback. Okay. Item changes. One of the major problems that players have been experiencing is feeling that the game is not rewarding enough. This is an area that we have to be very, very careful when adjusting, because it's very hard to reduce drops if we increase them by too much. We have identified a few key areas that we believe significantly improve experience that players are having. This is amazing, because that means that I can now jump onto Discord and possibly get a couple of folks to sit down and just shit talk with me. Because what's been happening is on the weekend we've been sitting, we've been jamming, doing some leveling, and what has happened is a lot of people actually stopped playing the game. They got to maps and they were like, okay, yeah, the drops are shit, but you're going through the campaign, so we're just going to push through, we're going to die thousands of times, it's okay, we're not playing hardcore. We just want to get to maps, and they get into maps and they're struggling to sustain the maps because that's an issue. Again, I'll be referencing here to Gazi. One of the people came into stream asking about it, and the only way that you can really sustain it is by grabbing the map or realm fragment nodes in the atlas, or so to speak. However, with that being said, from the way he explained it, the feeling that I got from it was, yes, you sustain it better, but it doesn't sustain you completely, and you still end up having to spend some gold to buy fragments or realm fragments to continue mapping. So I think this addresses the main issue that people are having currently, especially when you're spending 5 minutes on killing a unique, and you can have multiple uniques on a map. So you can end up spending a good amount of time, a good 30-40 minutes just doing a single map or a single area, because there's really, really tanky uniques and they have some very, very, very rough modifiers on them, okay? Which can end up setting you back quite a bit of time, especially for people that come from Path of Exile 1 with map blasters, and then you spend all of that time and you've got nothing to show for it. One of my friends actually said that the biggest issue he's been having is that even when rolling his maps or juicing them, he doesn't super juice, but he does juice them a little bit, and he just ends up not even having a full inventory of items that he's taking out. Especially at this early in the league, that is vital to the growth of your character. Getting better gear, better items, getting the rare and unique drops, bought before anybody else can, or they shoot up in pricing. It's very, very difficult, especially to say if you don't have the currency items drop that you need, or be able to trade for it because you don't have a full inventory of items. So yeah, that is great. We have identified a few key areas that we believe significantly improve the experience and players are having. Rare monster changes. We felt that rare monsters were not rewarding enough. That didn't affect the campaign as much because there were much more unique bosses, increasing the overall amount of drops, but it's especially noticeable when playing in the end game, where unique monsters are less common. In particular, the reward that you were getting in the increased difficulty of rare wasn't lining up. We have deployed the following changes. Rarity bonus per rare mod has been doubled. That's great. Plus 10% quantity bonus per rare mod. That's also great. Increase the chance of rare monsters inherently having more modifiers as you progress through the endgame. That is great. I do think something that they need to remember and to keep in mind is that if you have a 300% increase of damage, but your total damage output is 1, you go from 1 to 3. So it's very important to scale that up correctly. If you expect it to do around about 400 damage or 150 damage, you can't give a 300% increase of damage without as well increasing the base damage. So this also follows through on some of the changes that are made to item rarity. We do not have those numbers in front of us. If somebody knows where we can get those numbers and have a look at them, please forward that through, link it in chat, and we can make a video about it where we can go through it and just see how this will affect us. But it's good for now. I think this is a great start. These changes will cause rare monsters to reward rare monster rewards to naturally scale up as you get into higher levels, because the number of mods on a monster kind of increases throughout the campaign and into the endgame. In addition, many other forms of map choosing will indirectly cause rare monsters to have more mods as well, increasing the rewards of those or of these other mechanics too. Also note the change below to make sure that each map has a minimum number of rares, which also increase the average number of rare mods, and thus increasing drops further. That is very good. Currency changes. We felt that players were not getting enough of a certain currency either in the early game or sustain adding mods to maps. We have deployed the following changes. Regal orb drop rates have increased around 40%. This is fantastic, especially with the current situation where gear progression is vital to your build. There's no way to cheese it. There's no way to get maximum life from tree or get plus 30 or plus 50 from your health nodes, or to get increase health, 15% increased health from your body armor if you have life monitors like you can with Path of Exile 1. This is really, really great, because as people have noticed, if you played Path of Exile 2, you'll see that there's no increase for maximum life, which means that there's going to be a shit ton of strength stacking. It seems like strength will be the basis for a lot of builds and a lot of items. Disenchanting of 6 mod rays to give 2 regal shots instead of 1. That's fantastic. Lesser jewel orb drop rates increase around about 33%. Reduce the drop rate of chaos orbs slightly as they are less valued, and so that it doesn't consume too much of the rare currency drop pool. This causes currency such as exalted orbs to increase somewhat. That is amazing. It just increased somewhat slightly. I have noticed that my first run through, I've gotten quite a bit of exalted orbs. I think it's like 6 or 7 or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but there was quite a significant amount of orbs, and especially with a situation where you are one-to-one dependent on your gear, this makes it great for crafting, and especially in a situation where we are right now, where there is no way for you to just pop it onto a crafting bench and use Life Force, for instance, to craft for specific modifiers. As far as I know, if you roll it and you get a certain modifier, that's it. I have not seen if we have Regal Orbs. I didn't have a look yet. I didn't see one. I didn't find one. Didn't pick one up. And for that matter, I actually haven't seen a gem cutter, which I don't even know if we got that. So I hope there is at least some of this. Otherwise, getting gear is going to be quite a bitch. Because you're already sitting with the RNG, so now you need to get a good base. And then you need to pray that that transmutation that you're going to be using is going to give you the stat that you want. aka minions, where you want +2 or +4. I've seen some of them drop with +4. That is insane. That's an absolute masterpiece. That's really, really great for minions, but I just don't see it happening from crafting, unless you can have enough crafts available that you can run around in the area and then manually craft it. I'm not sure if re-rolling the modifiers on there is an option. But we'll see as we get further. Hopefully we can level the mercenary to a point where we can actually get into the end game. We'll see how things go. Right. Gem Cutter Prism Shot. Oh, there we go. Gem Cutter Prism drop rates increased by 500%. Gem Cutter Prisms now increase quality of gems by 5% instead of 1%. That is fucking amazing. That's very, very amazing, because especially how everything happens. In certain cases, you do need, especially at the end game, to start leveling towards, getting all of your gems and your skill gems at plus 20. But it's hard, especially with the rarity of loot and the overall struggle that we're experiencing there. Map mob changes, like with the rares, we have felt the players are not being rewarded enough for the difficulty that they was being added to the map mobs. We have significantly increased the value of all prefix map mods. Anyways, we have changed all map prefixes mods or prefix mods, but some example changes we have deployed are: rarity mods have been increased by 2.5%, so 250% increase there. Quantity mods have had an extra rarity added to them. This is now at a later patch. We removed the bottom tier of some mods. Okay, that's also fantastic, so it can no longer roll the lower tiers of certain things. And then what is the last one? You're much more likely to roll all modifiers that affect drops or pack size than the less useful mods. Okay, that is actually fucking amazing. That is brilliant, because now there is in-game content that is obviously going to be a lot more rewarding compared to what is currently going on, which is the main concern for a lot of people. People are really, really struggling. They're having a difficult time. They're having a very, very hard time to get to where they need to. And because of this, it's put them in a situation where a lot of people have been spending the majority of their weekend to level these things and get to a certain point, but they don't. And because of that, it's really, really difficult for them to continue playing the game, because there's no point to it. If you can't get items, you can't progress items, you can't get somewhere, then yeah, you're just going to have a really, really, really bad day. So I think this is actually amazing. I think these are great changes. Right, so now we're going to go to, in addition, it's been identified that areas are not being affected by the increased number of monster packs mod as they should be. We will be fixing these maps to work very clean in a later patch. Okay, it's just unfortunate that they don't provide us with the exact maps for what it is. So you can just try and avoid them, or you can, if you have to go through, you at least know, okay, this is just a blaster map. Get in, get out, and do what you need to do. Don't spend time. I just wish they would actually provide us with that list. That would be great. Unlucky drop protection. Ooh, okay, that's actually new. One of the major issues that we have identified are outlier unlucky drops, as a single unique boss dropping badly, especially early on, can significantly affect your character. Yep, yes it can. And I think, unfortunately, min builds or any sort of summoner build at this stage are experiencing the worst of it. We have deployed the following changes. No more than 50% of a unique monster drop can be gold. Okay. Act bosses and map bosses will always drop at least one rare. Okay, that's amazing. The first of these changes are more significant than the first appears. Players can't see the difference between normal and rare gold piles. You will get more equipment and currency items which can take the advantage of rarity increase unique monsters provided. Look, it's not that I can't see it. You can see it. But the problem is that you're dropping between 20 and 60 gold. And then certain times when that gets rolled high, it goes up to 80. And then you get like a super drop, which is like 115 or 120, sometimes a bit more, unless you get really, really high ones, which is like 350 or almost 400 gold. It's great. The only problem is a single item will cost you anything in a range of 700-800 to 1,500, easily going up to 3,000 gold. If you need to spend about half a day or the entire first act to gather up the gold that you need just for a single item upgrade, it's not really gonna matter, and it's not worthwhile to get 115 gold compared to the 80. If you can rather instead get a rare drop that's got a higher probability of having the mods that you need. So there is that. Okay, let's click to move. There was an issue where move only command was name locking. Name locking? This will often result in your character confusingly attacking in an unexpected direction while holding down this action. Holy shit! I just thought I was retarded! Okay, that actually helps quite a lot. We have deployed the following changes. Move running no longer affects name lock. Okay, that is amazing. Because this is actually a issue that was happening quite often, especially with the mercenary. It's much more noticeable, but in certain instances of the witch, where you're constantly spamming vulnerability, as well as bone burial, bone spear, and you're just trying to supplement the DPS of your minions, and it just goes into a completely wrong direction. Like, what the fuck? You know, you're just looking at it and you don't know what the hell's going on. I just thought, like, okay, and that was obviously lag, or you're just retarded. But it seems like we were not completely retarded. So, Celestials. Also, this is the new one we're coming up because, for the ladies and gents, you know, it's the internet, things are wild, so we're just doing sentience. Sentience or Celestials, either way. Sentience, at the end of the day, I think this is a great change. In-game maps. Considerable players, in-game maps are accidentally missing rare monsters. In addition, many maps that don't have a number of rare monsters that they should have had. We will be making the following changes in upcoming patch. Rare monsters now appear on the minimap when there are 200 monsters remaining instead of 50. Many of the maps have had additional rare monsters added to them to make sure that there are minimum number in every map type. Okay. Over the coming weeks, we will be continuing to work on the map layouts and monster density issues in maps. That is fantastic because that is somewhat of an issue. Especially in places where you have very little space to move and dodge. I think it's a jungle valley. It's really difficult when you all of a sudden go from having 3 uniques and a boss just hauling shit at you that one-shots you out of nowhere, and you need to somehow figure out to survive and dodge all of that while you have no survivability because you need to scale off of strength, but all of your points are invested in minion damage and minion survival. So, I think this is fantastic. In conclusion, we were passing patch notes for those changes deployed. For a full list of what just been deployed, check out the patch notes here. There are still a lot more changes to come. Just to come through changes that the FAST make, we will be continuing to monitor feedback and adjusting things as we go. Okay, let's head on over there and have a look here. Okay, 010C, patch notes, campaign, bosses killed after the first kill will now drop less currency items, replacing them with other items. I'm not too sure. Okay, that wording does make it a little bit concerning because what is going to happen now? Instead of getting a stack of 10 exalts, what am I going to be getting? Just a bunch of white or magic weapons? I hope not. Increase the drop rate of regal orbs. Yeah, that's good. Significantly increase the drop rate of gem cutter prisms. That's amazing. A single gem cutter prisms or +5. Yes. Lower the drop rate of chaos orbs and distribute it in amongst other more valuable currency items like regal and exalted orbs. Lower the drop rate of artificer orbs and distribute it to lesser jeweler's orbs. Disenchanted rare items with 6 modifiers now provide regal shots. 2 regal shots, previously 1. The value displayed will still show as 1 until a later patch. Okay, so Celestials, just keep that in mind. If you have this, if you have a rare item with 6 modifiers and you do sell it, it's gonna show up as only giving you 1 regal shot, but you will be getting 2. So just keep that in mind. Increases the value of the prefix modifiers that can roll on waystones. Waystones, that's what they call maps, waystones. We've also adjusted the chance of getting more commonly powerful modifiers, such as increases to rarity and pack size. Monster modifiers now grant higher amounts of item rarity and item quantity. Okay, that is amazing. This is the most common on the magic and rare enemies, but also affects unique enemies if applied through various in-game mechanics like Deadly Evolution Keystone. Celestials, there we go, tip of the day. Please remember to take Deadly Evolution in your Atlas tree. It's vital. Okay. Increases the chance for rare monsters in the maps to have 3 or 4 modifiers. Rare monsters in maps are now revealed on the minimap within 200 monsters, remaining previously 50. Fixing a bug with some persistent buff skills such as Raging Spirits and Mana Remnants were not working for the Infernals when in demon form. Okay, that's actually great. Fixing a bug where you can be sometimes unable to interact with the map device since you're in refuge. Fix the bug where monsters shattered in blood circle. Ultimatum encounter will not contribute blood. Okay, that's actually game breaking. That's good they sorted that out. Fix the bug that caused the instance to permanently stop time freeze when you try to revive a chronomancer. Fix the bug where rare monsters could not be found within a chimeral wetlands. Okay. Fix the bug where move only was name locking. Yes. And fix instance crashes. Ooh. And fix client crash. Okay, so Celestials, it seems that it might not be our potato PCs, as though it was contributing. It seems like it wasn't the main reason. It would seem that the instances were crashing as well as the clients. Right, so this has been done. You will need to restart your client to recover the update changes on the spec. Before, when I just started, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a service has been restarted in 10 minutes. So I think the second patch is already out. Might be a good idea just to run that, as we're not sure of the size of it. And as the majority of people, I presume, are like me, working people, means we cannot sit there for 2 hours and wait for our potato PC and internet to eventually finish up the update. So it might be worthwhile for you guys just to have a look at that and just start the update so it can start running and you can jump into the map as soon as possible. Jump into the game, sorry, as soon as possible. So yeah, that's it. A little bit of feedback and ranting from my side. Things that are not listed here, which I really was hoping that they would have take a look at by now, is currently just the state of minions and where they are. With that being said, we are just currently, we got to a stage where we started getting to level 2 support gems. We're still only getting level 1 support gems, or uncut support gems, and this might all change the overall minion experience. I'm just saying that if I've invested so much into them with the amount of points, because basically all of the points that I've invested in them, and there's very little for my own survivability there. Actually, I don't think there's anything for my survivability at the moment. All of it's actually just been gotten to meet the minimum requirements of minion skills, as well as the support skills, and then in addition on top of that, just to try and bolster their damage and keep them alive. I'm a little bit disappointed that I haven't taken a look at that. I was on Gazzy's stream a little bit earlier today, and it seems like he's got a really, really nice build going for him. I mean, it looked like it was performing very well, and as is in own words, he said that he feels damn nearly immortal. With that being said, though, it's a bit of a hybrid build. We're not sure of the gearing that he's got there, and you're talking about somebody who's no lifing. So if you compare that to the average guy like me, who just wants to play the game in fun, and we can't end up no lifing it, it does leave much to be desired. So it's very, very, very difficult for us to reach the same level and have the same enjoyable experience. That being said, though, from what I saw on the stream, it was very difficult. He was doing some insane things. I'm not sure of the level that it was. I think he said it was 81 and there was somebody else that was at level 89. But he was level 81 and he was struggling with the trials, and some of those modifiers are really, really scary. And you could see that it was definitely his experience. There was a certain amount of time that he was very, very narrowly on the brink of death. A single white mob walking up to him and giving him a good slap would have cost him to lose that. So with that being said, the way it seems to me is that maybe the risk and the reward is not that well balanced. There will need to be some base stats adjustments. I mean, if you're using minions, and I've suggested this in PoE 1, I am suggesting it again in PoE 2, using minions, and that is your main thing that you're bolstering. Allow you to stack stats, just survivability stats, off of your minion stats that you're picking, so you don't have to end up picking them yourself. I do think this is a great way to proceed. But with that being said, it won't be required, since we are going to be doing the mercenary with the Gemling Legionnaire. I'm referencing here to Sir Mustache the Glorious. He had a Templar build, and it would seem that the Gemling Legionnaire is basically the Guardian for with the Baron bolt that we had in PoE 1 for PoE 2. It gives you plus quality to all of your skill gems, support skill gems, or all gems, I think, I can't remember exactly, and then +1 to level of all skill gems, which is just amazing. I do think this will be overall the better minion build. We are doing a bit of a shotgun build at the moment, where we are mainly focusing on the bows and its skills there. We can actually do minions. There's no reason for us not to swap it over to minions. So since we said we're going to be doing minions, I think it would be worthwhile for us to maybe just make that swap. But I am enjoying the mercenary as is a bit more. My overall DPS output is just a lot better, and I made a joke about it last stream, but my mic wasn't working, so you guys obviously didn't hear it. And I said that you guys can just check on my Twitter page. We've actually just launched our guide, my minion guide for PoE 2 for beginners, and it basically goes as follows: that if you think that you want to play a minion build, then that's what you're going to do. Log in, create your character, and before you press play, don't. And then the second step is if you're 100% sure, unless you're 100% sure this is what you want to play, don't. Thank you very much. Anyways, so that's the current consensus on what it is. Like I said, my build is broken. I'm not using a build guide. I'm just having at it. I'm going through the tree and the passive skills and reading through them and just seeing what is good and what is not and how we can stack things. But what I can tell you is the following. What you're essentially looking at is you need to find a way to spawn a fuck ton of minions, make them invulnerable for a couple of seconds so that they can literally die and revive consistently, so you can just have a going cycle, so you always at all times have like 6-7 minions that can have a really high total amount of DPS. But with that being said, I don't think that is going to happen. Yeah, I just think that at the moment there's too much investment required to get something that is worthwhile. Like I said, I've already had level 11 at skills gems at level 28. Do you understand what you need to get there? Like, that is insane. That is really insane. And I still struggle to kill the basic things, and my tankiest minions just get one shot. Never mind the DPS. We've given up on the DPS. So with that being said, that is my current consensus on it. I feel that it's too tricky, too meta. There's no general play. Which actually brings me back to, look, I'm not saying the minions are unplayable. What I'm trying to tell you is that here's the problem. Unless you are making a meta build, you are going to struggle, because the general play style where you just grab this is bad. It's just bad. It's haunting, it's daunting, it's terrifying, and it's not worth your time, your patience, as well as your money. So my recommendation on that matter would be, just for now, play something else, or just prepare yourself. Be ready to be very disappointed. And I'm aware that a lot of people are going to say, yeah, don't worry, used to this, you know, or just like my relationship with my mother or parents, they're always disappointed in me. I understand that. However, this is the one aspect in life that I do have the possibility of at least controlling it somewhat majorly, and I would like to say that it was successful and not a disappointment. Anyway, so that's it. That's the full patch notes. We'll be going through it. If anybody knows, I'm going to have a look around if we can get some better details on it, maybe have a better look, just look at the overall stats. We will also be looking at maybe just reloading the character. Head on over to our Twitch stream. It's just search on Twitch, just look for Amoebas Gaming, and then open this up. You can see my profile, the exact same one that we've got on Twitter. We love our little gaming idea, Noobsy Troops. So yeah, Sentience, we appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Have a look at the schedule. Oh, just keep in mind, please, that Sentience, that at the end of the day, I'm still working. I'm a general laborer, which means that unfortunately I work extended hours the most of the time. I do not get to pack up until the work is done. If the work is not done, I need to work overtime, so I try to keep to it as consistently as I can. But sometimes, you know, life happens. Currently, I'm also sick. Unfortunately, we found out that I had like a little bit of a tummy bug that went over into something else. He used very big words. We caught it nice and early, but I am feeling very, very drained and out of energy, and really struggling just to get by doing day-to-day things. But we've got antibiotics. We are gonna get better. Doc said that we should be good for Friday. So latest by Friday, we should be sorted out. So have a look at the stream schedule. We mostly stream on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Those are most of the days that I can consistently be back at a certain time. But during the week, we will have intervals right now where we have a little bit of an opportunity. We'll be quickly doing a quick post, going through things, and just taking it from there. So yeah, I appreciate it. Sentience, Love you. I leave you. Do drop me a follow. It's completely free, as we are currently trying to build up just to get enough so that we can do it a bit more consistently. I don't know if you guys heard, but my mic is terrible. I'm using a microphone from literally 2000. This is what I have. I have a very old PC that uses Xeon processors. It's the old sockets, like just run about when i7 started becoming a thing, in between there, the first and the second generation. So yeah, it would be great if you guys can just follow. It really does help out, and it helps out with the algorithm, which will obviously allow us just to invest a bit more into streaming. As I do want to redo the banners, as you can see, these are all free packs and stuff that we've gotten, but unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I can go and splurge. I do need to follow a strict guide. And I would actually just like to reach out and thank again to Raid Shadow Legends, because we would not be streaming Path of Exile 2 if it weren't for them and their previous sponsorship that we got through Stream Elements. So thank you, shout out to you guys, I really do appreciate it. And yeah, please keep them coming. We really do appreciate it, and it does help out a lot. So hit the follow. See you again. We're on Twitter, so head on over there, follow us there, and go to our YouTube channel. It would be greatly appreciated. All the streams are available there, and you should be able to see them all and see us on Twitch. But you know, right now we're not filling with YouTube too much. There's just too many problems going on there, as well as with the free music. I mean, I literally got an email from them saying that even though we reference the people as they requested and this is royalty free music, we are going to copyright strike you, and some of the videos got removed. So it's a whole hassle, and I don't want to deal with them, so just come see me on Twitch. Okay, right, so Celestials, thank you, see you this evening, and bye 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 bye.